For over 2,000 years, one book has stood as the ultimate guide to strategy, leadership, and the art of war. The Art of War by Sun Tzu. It's not just for generals. Its wisdom has inspired emperors, entrepreneurs, and modern leaders alike. Here at China Tales, we bring that wisdom to life, not with lectures, but through timeless legends from ancient China. This is Stories of Strategy, learning Sun Tzu through legends. Let the journey begin. In ancient China, during the spring and autumn period, the Zhou royal house was fading fast. Once mighty, the king had become little more than a symbol. Power belonged to the warlords now. And central China? It was a battlefield. States fought constantly, for land, for people, for control. In the south, the state of Chu was rising. Like a dragon waking from sleep, it grew stronger with each passing year. Its armies were fierce and unstoppable. Smaller states didn't even try to resist. They surrendered before a single arrow flew. Chu's influence kept pushing north all the way to the Yellow River. Its ambition was clear, to dominate the central plains. But up north, the state of Jin was rising too. At its head was Duke Wen, Chong'er. He'd spent 19 long years in exile, wandering from state to state. But exile had taught him more than survival. It had taught him strategy, patience, and leadership. When he finally returned to Jin and took the throne, he moved quickly. He brought in wise advisors, reformed the government, strengthened the economy, and built a powerful army. His goal? To become the true hegemon of China. Soon, Jin's rise collided with Chu's expansion. A showdown was inevitable. It came when two of Chu's allies, Cao and Wei, offended Jin. The ruler of Cao insulted Duke Wen. Wei refused to let Jin's army pass through. Duke Wen saw an opportunity. He decided to act. He launched a campaign to punish them and to make a statement. Chu couldn't let that go unanswered. King Cheng of Chu knew that if his allies fell, his own state might be next. So he responded quickly. He sent his top general, Ziyu, to lead a coalition army, joined by troops from Chen, Kai, and others. Their banners filled the skies. The great army marched north to face Jin. But there was history between these two men. Back when Duke Wen was still a wandering exile, it was King Cheng who had taken him in. The king treated him with kindness and respect. During a banquet, he asked,
Chong'er, if one day you become a ruler, how will you repay me?
Chong'er bowed and said,
If our states ever go to war, I'll retreat 3 stages before fighting.
Now, that moment had come. Duke Wen remembered his promise and kept it. He ordered his troops to fall back 90 li, about 30 miles, and set up camp at a place called Chengpu. But this was more than an act of honor. It was a smart move. By retreating, he avoided direct conflict and chose better ground to fight on. Zhu saw the retreat and assumed Jin was afraid. Confident, he pushed forward and challenged Jin to fight. Duke Wen remained polite. But behind the scenes, his commanders were readying a trap. They had a plan. Chu's army had 3 wings, left, center, and right. The right wing, made up of Chen and Kai troops, was the weakest. That would be the first to fall. When battle began, Jin's lower army, led by General Shu Chen, struck the right wing hard. His chariots were draped with tiger skins, terrifying the enemy horses. Chaos erupted. The Chen and Kai soldiers panicked and scattered. The Jin army overwhelmed them with ease. At the same time, Jin's upper commander Hu Mao raised flags to fake a retreat. Behind the lines, another commander, Luanji, dragged branches behind carts to stir up dust, making it look like the whole army was falling back. Ziyu believed it. Thinking victory was near, he ordered Chu's left wing to give chase. That was the moment Jin had been waiting for. Suddenly, General Xian Zhen led elite troops from the center and struck the advancing Chu forces from the side. At the same time, Hu Mao and Hu Yan turned their forces around and attacked from behind. Chu's left wing was caught in a deadly trap and crushed. Ziyu could hardly believe it. Both of his flanks had collapsed. He knew the battle was lost. He called for a retreat, trying to save whatever troops he could. The Battle of Chengpu was over, and it was a sweeping victory for Jin. But this wasn't just a battle won. It was a turning point in history. From that day on, Jin stood tall as the dominant power in the north. Chu, wounded and humbled, had to give up its northern ambitions and turn its attention back south. The Battle of Chengpu would be remembered for centuries, as a clash of strategy, promises, ambition, and fate. This is the story of how strategy shaped a war, long before swords clashed. Sun Tzu said,
"Those skilled in warfare make themselves unbeatable first, then wait for the enemy to become vulnerable."
In 632 BC, Duke Wen of Jin made a surprising decision. He ordered his army to retreat 90 li, or about 30 miles, from the advancing Chu forces. At first glance, it looked like an act of honor. But in truth, it was a move of calculated genius. He wasn't avoiding a fight. He was choosing the ground. The battlefield at Chengpu was narrow. Chu's massive army couldn't fully spread out, but Jin's troops had already secured the high ground. By doing this, Duke Wen didn't just protect his men. He shaped the field so that he could not be defeated. That's what Sun Tzu meant by making yourself unbeatable. While falling back, Jin wasn't giving up ground. It was setting the stage. Ambushes were hidden along the path. Dust clouds masked their movements. Even the retreat itself was a trap, because victory would not come from brute strength. It would come from the enemy walking into your plan. Sun Tzu said,
"Victorious armies win first, then go to war. Defeated armies go to war first, then try to win."
Jin was the army that had already won, before the first sword was drawn. It had punished Cao and Wei, warning others not to side with Chu. It had picked the ground, prepared its formations, and spread confusion. It had studied the Chu army structure, left wing, center, right, and crafted a plan for each. Chu's right wing was made up of troops from weaker allies like Chen and Kai. That would be the first to break. Meanwhile, General Ziyu of Chuan charged ahead with confidence, but confidence is not strategy. He trusted in numbers. He didn't question the retreat. He didn't see the trap. His left wing chased too far. His right wing collapsed in confusion, and his center stood alone. Sun Tzu said,
"The skilled commander positions himself beyond defeat, and never misses the moment when the enemy can be defeated."
Jin stood on solid ground. It had a strong center, clear flanks, and discipline. And when Chu made its move, Jin was ready. Tiger-skin chariots burst out, panicking enemy horses. Dust clouds and feigned retreats pulled Chu's flank deeper into the field. Then, from the side, Jin's elite struck, hard and fast. One move triggered another. One collapse became a chain reaction, because everything had been prepared. The Battle of Chengpu wasn't just a military victory. It was the art of war, brought to life. First came the shaping, positioning, alliances, terrain. Then came the momentum, shock, deception, encirclement. And finally, the victory, not through force, but through foresight. Jin became hegemon of the Central Plains that day. But the real triumph wasn't only on the battlefield, it was in the mind, in the plan, in shaping the outcome, before the fight had even begun.